Good day, it is I, ThatLostGamer, and today we are going over my top 10 hardest Just Shapes and Beats levels. Now, since this is a top 10 hardest levels, all the levels will be in hardcore mode. Now, these opinions are my own, and I do find these to be the most difficult levels in the game.
Number 10.
We've got Cool Friends. Now this is more challenging for first timers and experienced players, mainly because this is the first challenging level that most people have a real hard time beating. I have watched a lot of people play Just Shapes and Beats on Twitch, and this is the first time people really take a long time to beat. Now when you get to the saw blade section, they're very erratic in hardcore mode. I am really confused why there isn't really a pattern, because it really does make this level look a lot more messy. It is then immediately followed by a bunch of lasers and enemies swiping across the level and a spinning saw that spawns in the middle. I think we got a theme here. So after you survive that, now you got a giant saw that falls into the level and sprays blocks everywhere. Again, if you have no clue what to do, because this is your first time playing it, it can be very challenging to get around some of these blocks because you're not sure where the safe zones are. And the end is the easy giveaway with avoid the big spinning saw. And if you survive the very last attack, look out! Nope, it's a bluff. And you have beaten Cool Friends.
Number 9.
We got Fox. Fox starts out kind of difficult as objects spray all over the screen in large waves. The level then decides to ramp it up a little bit more by having these worm things go across the screen along with the lasers and the spike balls. The level then changes style quite a bit, having large circular objects moving up in the center and down in the sides, making really tight quarters that you have to maneuver in. Now, since moving in tight corridors isn't hard enough, we have worms going down in the small gaps that are available for you to move in. The level then transitions to two large wormy things going up and down on the left and right side, making small safe zones for you have to move around in. And then it goes into the last phase of complete death, moving safe zones all over, with things waving and moving everywhere. Then after surviving this for a while and surviving some lasers, then you have beaten Fox.
Number 8.
Katana Blaster. The level starts out by a bunch of hexagons filling the screen, which isn't too bad. Now you got a section with safe zones so small, like sticking a grain of rice into the eye of a needle. After a little bit, then a bunch of objects start going across the screen, and you have to avoid the lasers, the hexagons, and the blocks of cubes going everywhere. Then it switches into a side-scrolling map where you have to avoid the blocks coming from the top, bottom, right, and the hexagons moving left, then immediately switching into the lasers and hexagons again, and still missing the blocks. If that's not hard enough, now we got waves of hexagons along with the lasers and blocks all moving at the same time, and then immediately followed by rains of blocks covering the entire screen as you try to survive. I had a lot of trouble with the end of this level because the level gets covered in lasers, making your area of movement very small, and you still have these rows of hexagons coming at you. But if you get lucky, you can make it. You have beaten Katana Blaster.
Number 7.
Light Speed. This one is very interesting. You have a bunch of lasers that are slowly charging up, so you know where they're going to attack. But you can't just sit in the safe zones because you got all these balls coming at you. I can't say that. You got a lot of enemies coming at you. It fills the screen a lot. And now if it wasn't hard enough, now you got cubes coming down with the... It's just so much. It's all over. It just fills the screen from every direction. This level has a couple things going for it that makes it really difficult. One of them is that there is only one checkpoint, and the other one is the two massive phases of objects filling the screen. If you are trying to get an S rank on this level, good luck. The way that I got an S rank was absolutely pure luck of dashing everywhere all the time. If you finally get to the checkpoint, you are faced with 4 objects bouncing around the screen, making splashes and making a big mess all over the place. This part isn't too bad as long as you kind of keep an eye on where objects are coming from, but for the first time you get here, it is very difficult to survive, especially around the end when there's a lot more objects and splashes going on. There are very small areas that you can move in to try to survive, but there is very little real estate for survival area in this level. After you finally make it to the end, you are greeted with a cute little flower saying, "Congratulations, you have beaten this absolute..."
Number 6.
Next, we've got Granite by Shirobon. Again, this is going to follow the theme of things just filling out the screen from all directions. But this time, it's going to start out a little bit more easy than some of the other levels that we just looked at. It isn't until you hit the first checkpoint that things start taking a sinister turn. A turn where there's lasers everywhere. And very little safe spots to be in. Now, if the lasers weren't difficult enough, now you have 4 exploding corners with circles filling the screen as you're dancing around trying to survive these lasers. I do not know how I got an S rank on this one. This was a nightmare. Now, after you survive this nightmarish middle of the level, it will get a little bit more splashy and easy, I guess. Now, it is easier compared to the rest of the level, but it's still pretty challenging, especially when it starts scrolling up and you're trying to avoid lasers and enemy explosions at the same time. Around the end, the enemies do start filling up the screen again, so if you've made it this far, good luck at not losing your S rank run at the last minute, and you'll have to do it all over again.
Number 5.
Interlace. Now this one's very interesting because you can't just avoid the attacks. You actually need to do a lot of very precise dashing. And I have been seeing a lot of people having issues with this, mainly because I don't think they know about dash canceling. Now, if you dash and let go of a direction in the joystick, it will actually cancel the dash. So you can do very small precise dashes to kind of fit in some of these very small areas, especially this section where you have to do tiny dashes into very small moving gaps that are swiping across the entire screen. The different attack styles do change drastically, with lasers and small gaps constantly changing, and to describe each one would just be absurd. Now, one interesting attack style are these boxes where you have to dash around, and the safe zones are constantly shrinking, so you have to keep dashing between them. And then it changes so drastically that you have to move into the other boxes. But there are a lot of predictable patterns that are easy to memorize. So as far as getting an S rank, this one is not as hard as some of the previous ones in this video. This style of level continues throughout, and you just have to stay on your toes and keep dashing. The only way to get really good at this level is to memorize where all the safe zones are and when you're supposed to dash. Now, once you get to the very end, and hopefully you don't get hit by all these obstacles, you can cross the line and beat the game. Or the level, at least.
Number 4.
Next, we have Deadlocked. So this one is more challenging, I think, for me than some other people. I have had the hardest time getting an S rank on this one. This is one of my last ones for getting an S rank. Starts off by lasers going left and right and blocks spraying all over the map. And I think it's the RNG that makes it difficult for me. There's a lot of spray, and from a bunch of different directions and is very unpredictable. The cubes are actually slightly larger than some of the other levels' cubes, making them take up more real estate on the screen. I feel the level is really relentless with how much is spraying around the screen, pretty much the entire level. There are a lot of checkpoints, means that you can beat it a little bit easier, but if you're trying to get that S rank, it is a nightmare to do, especially with the middle of the level and the blocks spraying in all directions. The lasers being in the middle pretty much means that it's impossible to be in the middle of the screen. It pushes you into the outside of the level just to have you attacked by the big cube enemy. The end of the level has a couple enemies spraying in a circle, which isn't too bad if you know the attack patterns. It's a little goofy at first, but once you get to the end, you should be fine.
Number 3.
Paper dolls. Unlike how easy the name is and how cute the doll is, this level is not easy or cute. No, it is nightmare-inducing with these walls that build up, and as you are trying to dodge all these spike balls and lasers, you are then swept away by this wall of impending doom and death. Now, this might be because of my boomer reflexes, but I do find it difficult to quick react and dash around the wall as it comes to you. As you go on through the level, the safe zones are getting smaller and smaller, meaning you gotta pay really close attention. But once you get to the last half of the level, it's not too bad because there are 4 directions that the attacks come from. And if you pay close attention, you can kind of find the best spots to go to not get hit. And then you beat the level.
Number 2.
Into the Zone is one of my least favorite levels, mainly because the nonsensical spraying of bullet hell all over the screen throughout the middle of the level. The beginning starts off pretty easy with some predictable pillars and some snakes that are going pretty slow that you can avoid. But as soon as you get to the middle, there is a spray and pray pattern of bullets going everywhere. I find the attack patterns so difficult for me to avoid that I lose any joy in playing this level. The ending isn't too difficult as long as you dash cancel, but it's the middle of the level that kills me every time. Now for my number 1 hardest level.
Number 1.
Mortal Kombat. Yes, it shouldn't be any surprise to anyone that this is the hardest level in Just Shapes and Beats, mainly because it's complete random attack patterns and large hitboxes and speed throughout the entire level that makes it nearly impossible to beat this unless you keep retrying and memorizing the attack patterns. I even took a poll, and a majority of people said that this is the hardest level in Just Shapes and Beats. What makes this even more funny, in recording this level for this video, I did not beat this level. So there is no end screen for this level because it is crowned as hardest level in Just Shapes and Beats. Despite all the anguish these levels have created, there's at least one thing that gives me peace of mind, and it's that